Namaskaram, I'm Rajiv Srinivasan, and I have with me Mr. Anil Pandale and Mr. Hari Gopinathan. This is the third in our series of videos about development, and in particular development in Trivandrum. So we've talked about past development, current development or lack of it, and in this video we want to talk about future prospects for development that we see as a very positive thing that can come down the road. So first I'm going to ask Hari. Hari, you and I had discussed a couple of things. One is a cruise terminal, another is the potential for religious tourism here centered around Padmanabha Swami Temple, and then this possibility of how we could have a really good aerospace cluster
Right.
from Trivandrum down to Kulasekharapatnam, which is the new launching pad for private sector low Earth orbit satellites. So things like that. Can you please talk a little bit about these things?
Sure. So, what we are talking about here is playing up to our strengths that we already have at least some existing clusters. For example, let's take why we got two of the, if you look at the tourism sector, we got two of the best, or rather the most prominent international beaches in India. One is Kollam and the other is Volkala. So, but unfortunately, it has stagnated, and due to thanks to sort of unplanned development, no master planning, we got these small scale players which are like low margin tourism revenue.
And you
compared-
attract your backpackers.
Yes, and you attract, and then the resultant social issues as well as drug problems, things like that. What if you look at like over at Maldives, what they have is like a few big players doing like excellent high margin tourism, which is sustainable also in the long run. But that said, like so we need to kickstart or rather like rejuvenate the sector because right now, as I mentioned, it's stagnating. One, there are two focal points that we can build up. Thanks to Viridium coming online soon, we can easily build a cruise terminal there. Right now, there are a lot of prefab cruise terminals that you can just like float in and like attach to the breakwater, and then you can start operations within a few weeks or maybe a month. And that means that an average cruise ship right now has got about 3,500 passengers, or rather like tourists. So when they come to Trivandrum, for example, and they berth, that's like almost 100 busloads of tourists. It's not just one or two, and that's just one ship. Now they will come to Trivandrum city for the day. They go around the various historic places or other tourist spots like Jedayupara and all those places. All those areas get positively
Benefit.
impacted. Yes, and the local businesses will be able to like food, beverages, curios like all the knickknacks, all handicrafts, all those. Lot of people get,
Transportation.
yeah, transportation exactly. Lot of common people will get like jobs, and they can all have like a better sort of a interaction with the port.
So it
That's
is
coming up.
development for them.
It is development, and it's like utilizing the port to make it more broad based than just a small segment of heavy industries and things like that. Now, if you look at the other focal point that we can easily build is to like there's a long running plan for a huge sort of a convention center so that we can have that MICE tourism.
Mice me?
There's sort of a convention based tourism.
No, what does mice mean?
Conventions.
Conventions and expos,
Okay.
sort of tourism. So it's like it's basically like what Las Vegas is, for example, very famous for, right? Other than the gambling, it's a huge center for whatever happens around the world. The biggest expos happen in Las
Right.
Vegas. Delhi has got Pragati Maidan, and we can have we can't have like a national level convention center, but we can have a huge one, and it definitely increases the number of the key what the hotel industry calls as
And
keys.
the airport.
Yes, and we got a airport which is super close by, very convenient, and it will improve that. Now, the other sector that you talked about is
Religious tourism.
pilgrimage tourism. Now, the pilgrimage tourism part is a very easy thing that should have happened when we discovered gold. We all knew there was always Trivandrumites know it's an insider kind of a thing, but the world outside came to hear of it, and it was splashed all across the globe. It was a great opportunity at that time to cash in on that and then make it into a huge pilgrimage spot. We didn't do it. As usual, we just let that opportunity slip through. What we can do now is like, I hopefully the next elected representative will have a focus on that and like develop it into a national level center. If you look at Ayodhya, it's like after the Ram temple consecration, it has become like tenfold increase in pilgrimage.
Footfalls.
Yeah, and the market size is so become so huge that it's a common people of Ayodhya
Benefiting.
who gets benefited. It's not it's just a temple. So that is something that we should look at, and we got like another big center, which is the Adigal temple also, which can be. There's always a talk about a master plan, but nothing gets done. Now about the other one that you talked about the space sector, I will use the term aerospace rather. So we got like if you look at stack of for how much an industry should, how an industry should be like able to expand. You got the manpower training, and then you got the riskier cutting edge R&D, and then comes the manufacturing. So we got the first two layers. We got the Indian Institute of Space Technology, which is one of the best in the world, not just in India, for that space tech. And then you got the IASER, which does a lot of like original research on like basic sciences, which is needed for the space sector like innovations. What we are missing, and then of course we got the three biggest and most crucial launch development centers in India: the VSSC, which designs and develops and fabricates most of the parts for the launchers that India uses. Then we got the
Liquid propulsion.
the propulsion unit at Valiamala, and then we have the Vattiyoorkavu, the guidance and inertial unit center. So what we now don't have is a manufacturing cluster, and the government can initiate, both the state as well as the center can initiate, like for example, if you provide land parcels, they can provide technology infusion from VSSC and all the other two centers, and get the private sector to start that, and then they can ship the completed launch vehicles close to Visakhapatnam, as you mentioned, which is going to be the next big center that's coming up. We can have in multiple ways. We have railways, we got the roads connection, and then we
By
even
water.
can float it by sea, like what NASA is doing
Right.
for a lot of their launches
Right.
off the Florida coast and all that stuff. So it's all doable. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I look at this as replicating what happened in the US.
Correct.
Right? Silicon Valley, for example,
Correct.
started off by being an aerospace center, and then what happened there, right?
Absolutely.
They also had a couple of universities. Same thing with Bangalore. Bangalore
Right.
started off with HAL and IASC, and
IASC,
so
right.
we can replicate that
Yeah,
as
right. It's-
as a model.
None of these are like schemes that didn't never happen anywhere in the world.
Right.
We are not doing that. And then the
Right.
other one is the shipyard.
Shipyard,
Right.
yeah,
We can.
Puvar.
Yeah. So we can easily build up a. It's exciting that we can actually build up a maritime cluster from scratch, which is not like done pretty regularly. In the sense that if we have that poor shipyard, so one of the story that I heard about INS Vikram was that it could not be floated out because of the low draft
Right.
of Cochin, the basin.
Right.
In Puvar, you can float out like the heaviest warship.
It's like 24 meters or something.
Yes,
isn't it?
it's easily like 18 plus without dredging, even at the coast close to the shore.
Right.
And with dredging, you just can go to like great depths, and the continental shelf drops down
Rapidly.
like, rapidly off the coast. So it's a no-brainer that we should have the shipyard.
I mean, like 40 years, everybody sat on Virinyam. Now I hope at least,
Yes.
this is
We can
point of
have
inflection.
a complete maritime cluster.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. I think I'm excited about it. What about you, Anil? What are your
No,
thoughts? about
I am thinking about in terms of the airport predominantly, because one is that our airport is not serving the people of this region effectively, where we had around 640 flight movements a week today. It's actually pre-COVID levels only, not even beyond that. We have a potential to develop double, multiply it by 2. That is one area where I think the new representative should focus on. And the government had agreed in somewhere in 90s to take around, give the airport around 120 acres of land, but that has never happened. 100, that in the place of 120 acres, what the government gave is only 18 acres. Now, for the even to reach 1,240 flight movements a week, we need to develop the terminals so that the capacity, passenger capacity can be met properly. That the government has to do, acquire sufficient land and give. More important is that the government is functioning on a temporary license which is renewed every 3 years, because the runway clearances are not sufficient, and the runway length also, we are losing around 300 meters on either side because of a few coconut trees on one side and the bridge and the road on the other side. Plus, of course, we also have the bird heat issues which needs to be controlled. So, airport actually is something, bird heat issues. So, airport is one area where the new representative has to and can concentrate on. Now, the issue comes, what happens that if we grow over 1,200 flight movements a week, maybe we may go up to 1,500 flight movements a week, but beyond that, given the possibility of development that is centered around Vizhinjam, and this outer area growth corridor, which is already a project in stream, probably we will outgrow this airport in about 15 years' time, which means we need to have another airport ready by that time. Now, given the issue of Indian Air Force having no base in Trivandrum, although the Southern Air Command is here, they don't have a base in Trivandrum, plus the issue of Flying Club having no place to operate properly, I think the reason for developing another airport is certainly very, very important now. We should start scouting for it. So, probably some area between near to Neyyattingara or Artingal would be ideal places. Neyyattingara would probably be more preferred because it can cater to the catchment area of South Tamil Nadu also, who will be one of the key players in overseas travel, especially towards the Gulf side or to the deep south. Well, this is airport is one area I think we need to concentrate on. Then, of course, we have the other potential of this waterway, national waterway. The new representatives certainly must concentrate on this. It must revive the National Waterway 3. It should bring it back to the original scope of Kovalam to Bekal. So, Kovalam to Kollam will get added to the existing National Waterway 3 of Kollam to Kottapuram, which means the Varkala tunnel will get developed. Now, development of Varkala tunnel will certainly open up a new vista for tourism, focus on Varkala cliffs, etc., etc. So, that is going to be a real game changer in tourism sector. So, that is very important. The third, in the technology side, probably will be the R&D facility for semiconductors. Already IIST has been identified as a R&D facility. Probably SIDA can try to pitch in, and Trivandrum can become a center for research and development in semiconductor technology. Probably if everything else helps us, because fab is a facility which requires a lot of water. So, probably and electricity also. So, if things fall in place, probably Trivandrum can also become the place for development of chips and manufacturing of chips in India. That is another possibility. Now, coming back to airport, one area which I forgot is that India is one of the major exporters of aircraft components. You may not believe it, but that is the case. We are somewhere 7th or 8th in the world, but of course the gap between the top 4 players and the bottom 4 players are very huge. They are in billions and we are in millions. Like for example, France is exporting around $2.8 billion worth of aircraft components, whereas India is in 773 million. But it's still there. India is growing, fast growing. Its domestic requirement plus exports also is very, very healthy. Australia is next in line. So, if you look at the global distribution, Europe on the top and Australia and the down south and the deep down under on the bottom side, I think India is a perfect point for logistics hub, and Trivandrum because we have a facility which is an old domestic terminal. Probably this could become a good facility to start Trivandrum as a logistics hub for stocking and movement of spares, like the Vizhinjam transshipment hub. So that is one area which I think the new MP can take forward. And then, of course, the Trivandrum to Tirunelveli connection, a new highway across the Western Ghats, either as through a tunnel or otherwise. Tunnel would be better because then we disturb the ecosystem the minimum when we do a tunnel. Trivandrum, Ambasamudram, Tirunelveli, Thoothukudi will probably, complete the puzzle of Trivandrum developing into a space hub. Kulasegarapatnam coming up as it is planned today. I think this will put Trivandrum in the global space map forever. That's what I think. 3-4 promising projects that we can take up.
Great, thank you both. I mean, these are exciting prospects, and I hope, I wish and hope that our new representative will push these things forward. So thank you for watching, and please go and watch the other videos if you haven't seen them. This is the third of 3 videos on development in general, and in particular about Trivandrum, the past, the present, and the future. Thank you.